Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Endless Party.
Welcome back, everybody. We're glad you're here as always.
Yes, of course we are. Today is a very, very happy day.
Yeah.
So, this podcast is inspired by a day that we had recently. And it was just very, what's the word?
It was a Saturday.
It was just
and
a
it
weekend.
was wild.
Kate, in this one day, we came up with these 7 lessons that we learned. And we seriously learned them in the course of probably like 9 hours.
Yeah. It was just full of utter nonsense.
Yes.
And yeah, so we'll just kind of dive into it and just discuss the lessons that we learned. I'm sure a lot of you have learned the exact same life lessons, and if not, just from our experience, we hope that you can look back and see these life lessons in your own life and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Sure. So, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but we have 7 to share.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump into number 1. So this one I kind of came up with. I said the only thing that is too good and too true is Jesus. And I think he is the only thing in this world who really is not too good to be true, even though he seems like he is, because everything he gives us is free.
Mm-hmm.
And all he really asks is for our broken hearts.
Yep.
Not even our whole hearts, our broken selves. That's what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
And this lesson came from an experience that I'm going to pass the mic over to, that Elijah's going to share.
Yeah, so I'm sure all of you have heard of just classes that you can take to better your speaking skills or better your understanding in real estate. Whatever it is, you can pay a fee and go learn about whatever it is that you want to learn about. Well, my friend and I decided that we were going to sign up for this class, and it was just another avenue to learn about real estate. And so it was a free class. So we go to this free class and they tell you everything great about their avenue of real estate. And they try to really sell you on it for their 3-day class, which is $1,000. So we sign up for their 3-day class. I tell the people, I'm like, hey, before I give you any credit card information, I need to go and talk to my wife, because I don't make any decision without my sugar baby.
We're a team.
Yeah. So I go home and I tell Meg about the class, and honestly, she's like, it sounds great. It sounds like maybe this could be the answer to getting into real estate. And so I call my friend. I'm like, hey, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Then me and Meg just feel off.
Yes.
Like, we just don't feel good about the situation. So we really discuss it and go through the ins and outs, pros and cons, all the details. Then I start doing research on this company and come to find out that it's just this pyramid scheme, that you pay the $1,000, but that doesn't even give you full access to what they're promising. Then you would have to pay $25,000, $30,000, or $40,000, depending on the premium, golden, or diamond package that you want to buy into. And it honestly made me so frustrated, because they don't discuss this at the free seminar. They only discuss, you get all of this for $1,000. But they don't tell you that, oh yeah, you have to invest another potentially $40,000 to get the benefits that we're talking about in real estate. And so when I came to this conclusion, I called my friend and I was like, this isn't it. Like, you got to get your money back. This is just a get-rich-quick scheme, and they're just trying to dupe people out of money. And that's really what it came to be. And so I was so angry about this, because I'm huge on integrity, and I'm huge on being true to your word and true to your character. And I was talking to Meg about it, and then she came up with the principle of the only thing that's too good and too true is Jesus Christ. That's the only thing in this life that's too good to be true.
And he's the only person that you really can put your trust in, knowing that he wants to give you
Everything.
literally the best in
Yeah.
everything.
He wants to give you heaven. He wants to give you the
Yes.
kingdom of God, right? But that's the only thing. And so we caution you. If it sounds too good to be true, it most likely is.
Right.
There are very, very, very few cases that might be too good to be true, but for the most part, it's only Jesus.
Yeah, I think this understanding comes to, I mean, I'm only 23 and Elijah's 28, so I know that we're, on the younger side, but, just in the course of our 3 years of being married, there's been a lot of situations where we have been promised the world and people have severely underdelivered.
They've overpromised and underdelivered.
And so if you're in a situation where people are promising you the world, and this is coming from optimists, right? Like, we are optimists. But when you are in situations where people are promising the world, just do your homework and do your research and really, take it upon yourself to take that responsibility and look into the details, because, just in our experience, a lot of times, these opportunities are kind of scams.
Yeah, a lot of times. But that also being said, I kind of want to make it full circle here. Just because somebody promises you something that's too good to be true doesn't mean you cannot promise something that's too good to be true and deliver.
Yes.
Right? So during these experiences for the past 3 years of our marriage, as Meg discussed, we have had people come through and tell us, oh, all of these great things that can come if you do X, Y, Z. And we found that, as we discussed, it's too good to be true. However, because of that, and because we've been overpromised and people have underdelivered, me and Meg have vowed, if we make promises, we will commit to them and we will follow through. And I think that really leeways into a lot of the things that we're going to be discussing more today about. But as I said, if somebody overpromises and underdelivers, that doesn't mean you have to. Like, you can be something that's too good to be true for other people.
I like that. That is a perfect full circle. Okay, principle number 2 comes off of this same, pyramid scheme we experienced.
Yeah, the real estate nonsense.
Yeah, the real estate nonsense. That's a good way to put it. The second one is trust your gut.
Yeah.
And I think that you can rely on your conscience, especially when you're pursuing truth and values that foster integrity.
Right. It's interesting because so many people call it your conscience, the Holy Spirit, the light of Christ, whatever it is to you, it doesn't matter. You can trust it. That little tiny voice in the back of your head that tells you what's good and what's bad. That this experience has really taught us that, because me and Meg just felt this sense of anxiety, just this anxious feeling, and I almost tried to talk myself into it more so, and luckily I have a sweet wife, so we were able to discuss everything just openly and honestly, the good and the bad. And then I did my own research. So I think that's what's kind of cool, is when your conscience is telling you what you should and shouldn't do, you can put in your due diligence and do research for yourself to solidify what it's telling you. Or you can just be smart enough to trust it on the first feeling.
Right. Something I like that we were discussing is God is okay if we ask why.
Yes.
In fact, he wants us to. And he wants us to be able to come to our own conclusions and to seek out our own truths. And so if you're in a situation or you're having an experience where you have that, anxiety or feelings that aren't good, you can turn to God and you can ask him, for that clarity. I will say, though, too, with every decision that we've made that has come from on high, there is this sense of peace. And there's this sense of just moral, rightness, and you can't deny it. And so when you are feeling those feelings of doubt and anxiety, a lot of times I think it's God warning you to, take a bigger look at the picture that you're in or seek him out.
Mm-hmm. I think it's 2 Timothy, I don't know the exact verse, but it says, "For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind." And that's what we're talking about. Like, God is never going to give you this feeling of anxiousness or fear or doubt. If that feeling does come, that's when you know that either what you are pursuing or what you are doing is wrong. You will have this overwhelming sense of peace when you make the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, what's the quote? Sometimes the right choice and the hard choice are the same choice.
Yes.
Or something along those lines.
I think it's, may we always choose the harder right instead of the easier wrong. Yeah.
Or Abraham Lincoln, let us know that right makes might.
Yes.
So, in essence, what we're saying is you're going to have the feeling of peace and comfort when you make the right choice, even if it is the hard and difficult choice.
Yes. Okay. I'm really glad you clarified that, because I wanted to jump on this too. And when you are making these right choices, that doesn't mean it's like the perfect, easy route. In fact, Elijah and I have noticed when we make the right choices, normally it comes with a fair share of responsibility and difficulty, but there's peace in knowing we're pursuing the right things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important, in order to trust your gut, you have to be able to trust yourself. And how do you trust yourself? Well, you work on yourself,
mm-hmm.
and you become that person you can trust.
Yeah.
And something that Elijah and I have really tried to work on is to incorporate really strong values into our lives. So when we're making these hard decisions, what's really cool is we can fall back onto the values that we have set as the standard for our life. So, is this decision reflecting our values of integrity, of honesty, of, compassion? Is it aligning with, the direction that we want to be,
mm-hmm.
Moving towards? And I think that's a really cool thing to fall back on too.
Yeah, I would agree. It's interesting because we're actually going to do a podcast eventually on Zig Ziglar in one of his books. But one of the things that he talks about over and over again in his speeches is that you have to be before you can do, right? And so, as Meg was discussing, we can fall back on those principles. So when we do have that anxious feeling in our gut, we can be able to see, okay, are we following through with integrity? Are these business ventures following through with integrity?
Is this honest?
Are they lining up with what I am striving to be? And so I like what Zig Ziglar says, is because you have to be before you can do. And so if you want to do the right thing, you have to be the right person, right? If you want to be able to make the hard decisions that are the right decisions, you yourself have to be the right type of person to make those decisions.
I like that. Okay, principle number 3 that we learned from this weekend is, if what you are pursuing is taking time, then you're doing something right.
Yeah.
In this world, there are thousands of people who are trying to get you to buy into these get-quick-rich schemes. And just the reality is that they're too good to be true, which is kind of like what we said. Mm-hmm. And I also want to say this too. We're also optimists, okay? I want to believe that my big start is coming tomorrow, and I have the hope that it can happen. Mm-hmm. But I also know that it is so important to back your ambitions and your dreams and your future of success with work. Mm-hmm. And it's going to take day-by-day effort, because that's what's going to make it so worthwhile and and important.
Well, we've talked about this before, but an optimist isn't just some wishful thinker with his head in the clouds.
No.
Right? An optimist sees the reality, but sees how he can act in accordance with the reality to get the greatest possible outcome. Mm-hmm. Right? And so, yeah, this is coming from optimists, that you can have everything in life that you want, but you have to put in the work and the discipline and the consistency and perseverance to have it. It might happen tomorrow for you, so long as you put in the work, but it might not. but I guarantee that it will happen. It's actually interesting. There's another quote that reads, "The road, if the road you are currently walking on is clear and paved, you're probably on somebody else's road."
That's cool.
Because your road, it's like that Robert Frost poem, so I'm kind of intertwining multiple quotes and poems here, but the Robert Frost poem that everybody knows really well. And it's, I've taken the road less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.
Right.
And so the road to success is all uphill. It's usually hard. It's usually not paved at all. It has rocks and roots and everything in the way. But you are paving that road in the process.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Thanks.
I think too, the quote we all hear all the time is great things take time.
Mm-hmm.
And my question to you guys to think through this is, would you rather spend 5 years pursuing 50 different get rich quick schemes, or would you rather pursue, one dream or passion that you believe in, but it's going to take time and you're going to have to work on it every day for 5 years?
Well, I think that's what makes everything great in this life worthwhile. I mean, we've talked about this before, even in parenting, in athletics and everything, right? It's all good things take time.
Yes.
So be patient with yourself and be patient and believe that what you are pursuing is worth it and that it will get the outcome that you desire at the end of the day.
Okay, number 4. These next 2, 4 and 5 are about friendship. Mm-hmm. Elijah and I recently have been really discussing friendship, and we've been really, taking time to kind of decipher what kind of friends we want to be and also who we want to befriend. So number 4 is be the friend that you would want to be friends with. I actually have this friend, and one thing I love about her is she's very dependable. Mm-hmm. And if I say, hey, if we make a commitment and we plan something, she always shows up to that commitment. Mm-hmm. And she's also usually pretty punctual too. And I think that's a beautiful quality. Like, if you make a commitment, show up to that commitment.
Yeah, I would agree. I think which Proverbs was it? Proverbs 18:24, it says, "A man that hath friends must show himself friendly." And it goes back to that idea that it's like, you have to be before you can do. Mm-hmm. If you want a friend, be a friend. And what's so cool is one of Meg's friends that is absolutely dependable. It just makes us realize, one of the qualities that we want to have in our own selves. And, just kind of goes back to that quote that Meg even said right at the beginning of this. Be the friend that you want to be friends with. And it has made us reevaluate the type of people we want to associate with. Because we do want to be dependable. We do want to be committed. We do want to be disciplined. We do want to be perseverant. And we want to make sure we are associating with the people that have all those qualities as well. Because we also know that you become those who you associate with. Yes.
And I feel like in the back of all of our heads, we think, well, that's just not true of me. I can be strong, and I can hang out with these people, and I won't fall into any of their bad habits because I'll be super aware. Okay, I'm telling you, it's not true.
It isn't true.
It isn't true. And all this, all the self-help book authors and all the people who we admire, all of them say the same thing, and they say, watch your friends. Mm-hmm. And they tell you that it's like better to be lonely than to have bad friends.
Yeah, it's better to eat alone than to eat with gossipy demons.
The demons.
The bad friends.
Which totally piggybacks into Principle 5, which I said it's better to be alone than to have bad friends. But one good friend can make up the difference of 10 bad ones. So another story, I have this other friend, and she is like this beautiful, positive person. And for a little while there, actually, I was kind of feeling super lonely, just because Elijah and I kind of chose that, we wanted to see our life going in a certain direction. And because of that, I felt like I had to.
You kind of have to get rid of bad friends.
And the thing is, it wasn't like we just blatantly like got rid of these people. They kind of like chose to leave us, is what honestly happened. Anyways, so we were just living our lives, and we started to realize like we weren't getting invited to things and we weren't being included. We've come to the conclusion that it was okay. But I think for me, Elijah was probably stronger than I was. But for me, it kind of hurt at the time because, I'm a social person. I like having friends. I like doing things. Anyways, and I just felt like I wasn't very supported. But I had this one friend who, we got to go to the park one day together, and we just got to talk about life, and we got to just spend some good time together. And that one interaction was something that is going to like keep me boosted for probably like a month or two. It was just so positive. And so I was like, wow, like even only getting to spend 1 hour with this one good friend made up all the difference, of like having 10 bad ones. I don't know if that made sense.
No, it makes total sense.
She filled that void of like needing, friendship. And it was just one of her.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because one of the quotes that we've recently kind of reread through all the self-help books that we've read, as well as just speeches that we've heard, is the extra mile is always lonely. And you will have to go through this experience where you do cut friends and maybe even family members out of your life because they are holding you back and they are toxic and they do not bring the best out of you. In fact, they try to pull you back and hold you down. And here's the reality of the situation. What Meg was just experiencing and speaking through is that when you do go on the extra mile to success, it is incredibly lonely, but tears will be shed by yourself and by those that you left behind, because you do care about these people. You do wish that they wanted the best for themselves
and for you,
and then they got the best out of life, right? But you have to make the decision whether or not you are okay with staying behind. And for us, it wasn't worth it. We want the best this life has to offer, not only for ourselves, but also for our kids and for our family. And so that does mean that you have to make the right decision that is also the hardest decision to make. And you have to progress and you have to move forward. But I promise you, on that extra mile to success, you will find friends that are worth it. You will find the friends that do help bring out the best in you, that do help you push to bigger and better things. But you will be incredibly lonely for a period of time, because you do have to make that hard decision and leave others behind.
But know you're doing something right when you are in that period.
Yeah.
And the friends will come.
And like Meg and I discussed right at the beginning of this podcast, you will feel the sense of peace. Even though it's hard, even though the tears are shed, you will know that this is right. I mean, it's no different than in sports when we were just grueling in workouts. I can tell you that probably tears were brought to my eyes.
Yes.
But I knew what I was
right.
doing was right, and that it was going to give me the result that I wanted at the end of the day.
I like that. Okay, so we're on principle number 6. I touched on it a little bit in principle number 4, so don't get them confused. Number 4 was be the friend that you want to be friends with. But number 6 is be dependable. Okay, so one of the reasons why this Saturday was crazy is we had several people, it wasn't just one, several people make these commitments to us. And so we show up, we prepare, and then at the last second,
not even at the last second. After the time has passed,
we reach out and we're like, we're not coming. And we were like, bummer. It was just super lame because we had given up. We gave up
our whole day.
We gave up our whole day to make these commitments, to follow through with our end of the commitment, and then they didn't follow through. Anyways,
here's the reality as well. So one, be dependable and follow through with your commitments. That's what we're really trying to say.
Yes.
If you committed to go to an event, support somebody in their work, whatever it is, like, follow through with your commitments. Hold true to your promises. Make sure that you show up at the end of the day. That's how you determine whether or not you are truly dependable.
Mm-hmm.
Showing up. That's it. That's the key. But here's the reality, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic in this sense. I think all parents can relate to this. When you commit to something, that means you commit your whole family.
Yes.
And for me, well, for us, that means that we have to get our 2 twin girls, and they're delights, but they're also twins. And we have to get them ready. We have to get them out of the house.
They have to be fed. We have to think about their schedule and all of their needs. We have to think about,
Their
there's so
bedtime,
many
everything.
details that goes into us just leaving our home.
Right, and this is true of
All
literally
parents.
any parent out there, right? And so when you do commit, it's like, okay, what am I committing to? I'm committing to getting my little girls ready, getting myself ready, making sure Meg has everything that she needs, XYZ is all checked, right? And then we go. And so when other people all of a sudden bail at not only the last second after the event has started,
We're like, we just gave up so much time.
right? And so it just goes back to this. It's just be dependable.
Yes.
Show up at the end of the day.
And that's something Elijah and I are trying to be really good at. If we say we're going to be there,
We're going to be there.
And we try to be there on time.
Especially this summer. We've really, really tried to follow through with our commitments. And I'm sure we have fallen short.
I know we have.
By all means.
We're trying to be better.
Things come up. Our baby girls on one experience, they had to get shots and then they had fevers. And then we weren't able to follow through as much as we would have liked. But it's like, we understand that too. Life happens.
Yes.
And so give yourself some grace, and especially give other people some grace, because they deserve it at the end of the day.
I think being dependable actually starts, at the beginning of that interaction. So if somebody says, hey, like, do you think you could make it? In that moment, you have to be really honest, and you either need to say yes and then like hold your commitment and go, or you can say, actually, I'm sorry, this isn't going to work. So right then and there, they know exactly, where you stand.
Well, or you can also be very honest and say, hey, I actually can't give you a decision right this second. Let me talk about it with my spouse. Or would you be okay? You could even have a conversation with them. Hey, are you going to this thing for certain?
Right.
Are you going to be there? 100%. Like, there's no doubt in your mind that you're going to be there. Or you can even take it another step further and just say, hey, if I don't come, are you still going to go?
Mm-hmm.
Because that would even help you make the decision. Be like, because I don't want you to show up and me not be able to make it.
Right.
There's a lot of ways.
A lot of ways.
It's just communication at the end of the day.
And like we said, we're really working on this. We're trying to be still dependable with, the factor of our babies. So
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone can work on it, but this is something that I think we're really trying to do too.
Yeah, we're just trying to implement it.
Yes. Okay, this is my last principle. Not mine. Our last principle, and I really like it. And it's rarely your kids are the ones having a bad day. And so if they're acting rough or hard, I think you should first take a look inside of yourself and see what kind of day you're creating as the parent. Mm-hmm. So let me give the disclaimer though first too. I'm a mom. I have my 2 kids. So I definitely know that some days are just off. You can be the perfect, not the perfect, but a really great mom. And your babies can just be having a hard day. Sometimes they're sick. Sometimes they're getting teeth. Sometimes there are, environmental factors that make them
definitely
have harder days. I will say though, I think the harder thing to do though is to, if your kids seem more stressful or more rough that day, the harder thing to do is to, have some introspection and be like, wait, I'm feeling stressed today. I'm having a rough day. And I've noticed if I'm having a rough day, then B and Winnie are 100% having a rough day. And it can come back to me. It's like, I can't really blame my 10-month-old for how I'm acting today. Mm-hmm. They're having a bad day. No, I'm the one making the bad day.
Right. It's interesting because this stems all back to that dependability, right? So the whole weekend, we really strived to be dependable to the people that we made commitments to. And then all of a sudden, people didn't follow through. And so it made us so frustrated and angry. And like I said, we shouldn't have gotten mad because everybody deserves a little grace. Because I deserve a little grace. So I need to be able to give that to other people.
It just felt like everyone was liars. It was
Yeah.
just so annoying.
Anyways, because of that, we were angry and frustrated, and we had to like rush dinner, and we had to just quickly give our girls baths. And so all of a sudden, then we're angry at our girls because they're upset and tired and mad and all the things.
And
But
everyone's just going through it.
right, but because of that, that's when me and Meg realized, oh,
That's not on them.
that's not on them. We actually put them through this ringer of a day. And so we had to reevaluate and realize that they're not having a bad day. We were having a bad day.
Yes. And so I think that's kind of the epitome of responsibility too, like of taking responsibility too as a parent, to be like, okay, I know my baby is going to be feeding off of my emotions. So if I want them to have a good, happy, fun day, then I need to be a fun and happy parent.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of happened yesterday. I kind of did this experiment where I could have chosen to be really stressed out and, kind of negative about what I was, going through. But instead, I decided, I'm going to see if this principle holds true. And I'm going to try to create a really nice, stress-free day with my baby. So I took the time to be with them, and I took them on outings, and I read to them, and I played with them, and I told them just how amazing and wonderful I thought they were. And I will tell you this too, normally by the end of the night, like, they're kind of done. They're ready for bed. We're ready for them to get to bed. We've been together like 10
They
hours.
were delights.
They were so chill and nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my goodness, what a lesson. So, today, as I'm, thinking about this too, I'm going to try to implement the same things because, everyone likes nice babies, and, happy babies definitely like their nice parents.
Mm-hmm. So those are the 7 principles that we learned from one crazy weekend.
Yes. We're so thankful that you guys are here today, and we hope you enjoyed this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you did, please leave a comment because we really would love to hear from you.
Please leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe. But also, if there's any principles that you learned from your weekend, let us know.
Let us know because we would love to hear from you.
Okay. Till next time, friends.
Peace.